Good evening and welcome to this week's meeting of the Morton Board of Selectmen. Today is Thursday, December 21st, 2017. Let the record show that all members are present, along with Town Manager Michael Units. We also have tonight with us Attorney Brian Riley. Attorney Brian Riley here representing Copeland and Page. Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First, we'd like to welcome back Mr. Bramwell and extend our condolences. Thank you. And we're glad to have you. Thanks for coming. Under 2018 license renewals, we can do this real fast because we only have a couple. Get them out of the way. We can't have the hearings until 7:05 anyway. You have them, Bob?
Yep, have all.
You read them?
Yep, sure. This time we got to approve 2018 license common vic to be served food at tables. AC Rainham Holding Incorporated, DBA Dunkin' Donuts, 103 West Main, common vic. KMPZ Incorporated, DBA Honeydew Donuts, 61 West Main Street, common vic. Main Street Pizzeria, 63 East Main Street, common vic. Ultimate Pizza Incorporated, DBA Pizza Time, 250 East Main Street, common vic. Sportsman's Cafe, 13 South Worcester Street, common vic. Jukebox, one coin-operated pool table. Golden Tee Golf video game. Mass Sunday Entertainment for Jukebox, one coin-operated pool table. Golden Tee Golf video game.
Motion to approve. We have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second on the 5 request for common vicular. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. We also have a Class 2 license for Old Colony Cars Incorporated, 350 Old Colony Road, subject to receipt of a $25,000 bond for a Class 2 license. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, we have a request on January 1st, 2018 for 2 a.m. New Year's Eve closing. Fillmore Nason, Post 8049 BFW of USA, 28 Summer Street, actually requested the closing, but in the past, we've done a blanket vote to allow any, as long as they notify us, to allow any business with a license, if they want to, open until 2 o'clock, just to notify the office that they're going to be open until that time. So far, the only request we have is for BFW.
And that would be clubs or restaurants, not...
Clubs or restaurants, right. No package stores, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? No. And then the chair would entertain a motion to approve a 2 a.m. New Year's Eve closing for all clubs and restaurants at 2 a.m. Condition would be that they have to notify the Selectmen's office of their closing, their intent to close at 2 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Steele? Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Salvo?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Bramwell? Okay, we're all set. You have anything on announcements, Mr. Salvo?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, at 7:05, we have 3 hearings we have to deal with tonight, license hearings. And I'm going to have, before we get into that, I'm just going to take a moment to, again, explain the policy of this board in regards to what our policy is as far as dispensing liquors to minors. It is the express policy of the board serving as the LLA, Legal Licensing Authority, take all legally permissible action to eliminate the sale and the serving of alcoholic beverages to minors. Licensees are encouraged to consider implementation of restrictive policies to further discourage alcohol consumption by minors, such as requiring multiple means of identification, installation of age verification apparatus, which is a licensed swiping machine, posting highly visible notices that purchasing and/or consumption of the alcohol by minors, and aiding to or abetting such activity will result in the maximum penalty provided by law. It's further recommended that all employees are trained to understand these policies. It is also strongly recommended all servers or salespeople employed by the licensee be TIPS certified or on any other approved training program certification. We assume that all the applicants for our holders of alcoholic beverage licenses are aware that we expect them to perform at the highest standard of personal responsibility and public trust in the strictest conformance of the provisions of the policy in Chapter 138 of the General Laws. Each applicant or licensee shall be required to sign a statement indicating that they have read, understand, and agree to abide by our policy, which is something we do every year. Under the hearings, again, we've always stressed the fact that we have a very strong policy. And under first offense, it's up to 5 days of suspension. Second offense is 10 days of suspension. Third offense is 30 days of suspension. And the fourth offense is revocation of the liquor license. So I wanted to be clear on what the policy is of the board before we get started. So having said that, Mr. Salvo, would you read the first one, please?
Mr. Chairman, at this time, we open the hearing, alcohol beverage license hearing, Present General Laws 138, Section 23. The hearing will concern the September 27, 2017 incident reports filed by the Norton Police Department, which reports concern events following establishments that occurred during an alcohol beverage license compliance check on that date. The first one is the Fillmore Nason Post 8049, VFW of USA, 38 Summer Street, Norton, Mass. 02766, license number 00013-CL0908.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Brian Riley, Attorney Riley. I'm going to turn over the hearing to him at this point, and once we've gone through the steps that he needs to take, we'll come back to the board with a discussion and vote after the presentation. So, Attorney Riley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, the statute requires basically a formal hearing before this board if you learn of a potential violation of the alcoholic beverages laws, and so the typical process is that you would swear in anyone who's going to testify from the police department, for the licensee, anyone else, and take in the evidence, ask questions, and then make a decision as whether you think there's been a violation or not. These three concern the compliance check that the police department handled in September, and so, but if the licensee is willing to basically, wants to make a statement and sort of acknowledge, agree to the facts in the incident report, and then we can sort of bypass the testimony part to it. So my suggestion would be to do them one at a time. I guess the VFW would be first. So is there any representative of the VFW that would like to be heard?
Come up to the mic, please, Gary. Please identify yourself for the record.
Gary Cameron, Club Manager, Fillmore Nason, VFW 8049. Yeah, I realize a mistake has been made. It's been corrected. My bartenders have gone through the TIPS program, and I'm sorry this situation happened, and I realize it's very serious, and I apologize for that.
Would you be able to provide copies of the TIPS certifications to the Selectmen's office?
Sure.
They want to just keep copies of those on hand?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And so just for the record, you received the notice for this hearing along with the police incident report, and you
Yes.
you acknowledge the
Yes,
facts
I
were
acknowledge
stated
the
in there?
fact. Yep.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Chairman, since we don't need to go through all the testimony, the licensee is acknowledging it. I would say we can, acknowledging that there was this violation, that a minor was served during the check. I think we can move right to the board deciding what action it wants to take regarding that.
Should I close the hearing first?
Yeah, you might as well. We've heard, yeah.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor or against anything regarding this violation? Okay, seeing none, Chair would entertain a motion to close this hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Well, there'll be further discussion after, but any further discussion on the hearing? Seeing none, Mr. Steele? Yes. Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Yes.
Salvo? Mr. Bramwell? Okay, now regarding the actual suspension, we should have some discussion, general discussion about that. Before we get into that, though, I want to explain again that you heard the policy of the board, and as you know, and we're very stringent on the policy. It's a very strong policy. We admit to it. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that after, this is the first violation. The second one's 10 days. And that can kill a company, kill an organization. We understand that we're all business people, and we get it. But it's not our burden to make sure that that stuff doesn't happen. So in the future, I would really be very careful about who you're serving and making sure that the proper identification is being shown, because honestly, if you come back again the second time around, it's going to be a mandatory 10 days with really no discussion. That's basically what our policy is. Just want to make that perfectly clear. Anyone else on anything at that point? Mr. Bramwell?
I can understand human error, and I've always been more lenient, just that I know this has happened in the past, and the fact that the attorney has indicated that we would like copies of the TIF certificates, that was kind of something that I felt that if somebody's making a mistake, that possibly that, I don't know if the bartender who made the mistake has been identified, if they maybe should be recertified, but just so that we have a record here, just to show that everyone who is responsible with the liquor has been trained properly. That's something very important in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like Mr. Kimball said, none of us want to be here at all, no more than you want to be here.
Right.
And I don't want to have to preside over a second violation for them, because I was one of the ones that kind of fought to make the first offense so we could have some flexibility in it. Before I got on the board, it was a mandatory 5 days.
That was it, yeah.
And I felt that was too stringent because you couldn't take into account, any circumstances other than the fact that it was either black or white. And so I successfully got it so that at least we can use our own judgment. But unfortunately, if it gets to a second violation, there is no judgment. It's
Right.
guilty or innocent, and the sentence is predetermined. So I personally don't want to be here if that's the case, no more than you want to be here.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say other than the fact that I wish it didn't happen. I know
Yeah,
you
me
wish it
too.
didn't happen. And I know from having been in the family business that dealt with alcohol, I know that the police department on occasion will kind of give you a heads up that, be a little extra, alert, because the stings are going to be happening. They don't even have to do that, but out of fairness to people, they kind of give people a reminder. So it's a little, it makes you, it makes you feel even worse that it happens. Because we've kind of given you heads up that we're out there, and then it still happens. So, like I said, I understand human nature. Nobody's perfect. I've always said that there are two people in the problem. The one person that knows they're underage, and the person who's serving them who has the responsibility to find that out. And in this case, the person who's underage was a police officer doing the job, so all the responsibility falls on your shoulders.
Yeah, and I think I want to stress also, this board, when we created this policy, after 5 years, it transitions through, so after 5 years, everything gets clean again and goes back. So, in this case here, if you can keep your organization clean for 5 years, this goes away. In other words, if you get, in 6 years, you get in a violation, you're going back to number 1 again. You're not going back to 2 or 3 or 4. So we recognize that as being part of the issue, mainly because a lot of organizations change over a period of time. Managers change, so we kind of recognize that that might happen. That's why we created the policy the way we did. So, any other questions?
Yeah,
or
Mr.
comments?
Chairman.
Yeah, Mr.
Ms. Cameron, did you say that that you had 2 bartenders that attended tips training as a result of this?
Yeah.
Or had they done it prior to?
They done it this past year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Chief Clark, would you like to add anything, or?
Maybe at the end.
Of all 3? Okay. Okay. So, we have a decision make. We have 1 to 5 days suspension. And I'm going to ask the Attorney Riley to explain to us what this, we have another option. It's called abeyance. It's to be held in abeyance for a period of time. Would you mind explaining that to the board, please?
Certainly. A lot of select boards use this, particularly with the compliance checks violations, as opposed to something more, well, shouldn't say serious, but, something a little more stronger incident. What it means is that the board obviously has authority to suspend a license for a day or 2, and the person, the licensee has to turn in their license and literally not sell alcohol for that period. Another option you have to sort of send a message without shutting off the sales for a couple days is to impose a suspension of a day or 2, but hold it in abeyance for a period of time, let's say a couple of years. And it's almost like a probationary period, so they don't have to actually turn in the license and shut down, but it puts on record that this violation happened, and then if another violation happens, you get another report and you hold another hearing. Basically, those 2 days of suspension are going to be imposed almost automatically. You would also have the authority to add an additional penalty if you felt the circumstances merited it. But it's just kind of something to hold over the licensee's head, if you will. But if there's no violations in the year or 2, whatever you put on that, then they go away.
Everyone understand that?
Yep.
Any questions on that? Okay. Well, just open discussion. You guys, you might have different opinions. My opinion is that we give them a 2-day period suspension to be held in abeyance over a 2-year period. That would be my recommendation. If anyone else has anything they'd rather consider, I'm perfectly willing to hear it, but anyone?
I agree that 2 years would be better than 5, but yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Brad?
I, as I was coming down tonight, I was thinking someplace in the middle, like around 3 days. And up until tonight, I wasn't aware of the option of the abeyance.
Right.
So, a 2 or 3 day with the, 2-year abeyance, I think is good because, we've had in this case, I know there was a problem a year ago where the police,
Right.
issued a warning. So I think 2 years is more than fair.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, with the college being in town, I think we have to be very careful, but also given the circumstances, and I think the advances makes most sense.
Yeah. And again, we have to stress the fact that there is another violation. We're looking at 2 days in, what do they call it?
Abeyance.
Abeyance, and another 10 on top of that, that we would be discussing. So that could be,
12.
that could be a breaker
Yep.
for any business, so. Any other questions, comments? Gary, I'm glad that you guys are taking the, the steps to make sure that everyone is in compliance. I'd highly recommend to all of you that if I walked in and want a drink, I'd card me. And make sure you make sure everybody is treated the same way, and
Yep,
that way, hopefully, you won't have a problem like that again, so.
right.
I know I look young, but, you know what I mean. Okay. Seeing there's no other discussion, I'm going to move that where the licensee, Fillmore Nason Post 8049 VFW of USA at 38 Summer Street, Norton, Massachusetts, 02766, license number 0013-CL-0908, as stipulated in the violation on September 26, 2017, of serving an alcoholic beverage to a minor, that the board impose a suspension of the alcoholic beverage license of, again, VFW. Why do we have that in there twice? Fillmore Nason Post 8049 VFW of the USA for a period of 2 days, with such suspension to be held in abeyance for a period of 2 years, to be served only in the event of a further violation within that time period. That's a motion.
Second.
I need a motion.
So
So moved.
second.
And we have a motion by Mr. Bramlow, second by Mr. Flaherty. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Mr. Bramlow?
Yes.
And I too will vote yes. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Mr.
coming
Cameron, you'll get a letter in the mail kind of laying out what the
Okay.
board's vote was.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you very
back.
much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, now being 7:24, according to the alcohol beverage license hearing, President General Laws, Section 138, Chapter 138, Section 23, the hearing will concern the September 27, 2017 incident report filed by the Norton Police Department, which reports concern events of the following establishments that occurred during the alcohol beverage license compliance check on that date. It would be the Norton Country Club, 188 Oak Street, Norton, Mass. 02766. License number 00010-RS-0908.
Okay. Again, I'm going to turn it over to Attorney Riley.
Yes, we have representatives of the country club here?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
We'd ask you to please identify yourself for the record, please.
My name is Travis
When-
McDermott.
when you- Everybody wants to hear your name at home, so.
My name is Travis McDermott. I'm an attorney representing the country club, and this is
Scott Humphrey, General Manager of Norton Country Club.
Okay, thank you. So you heard the speech I just gave before.
we did.
You know, you're entitled to go through the hearing process, and we have the detective here who was in charge of the compliance check. But if you would like to just stipulate to the information in the report, then we can probably shorten it up.
We're happy to do that. We'll stipulate to the facts as represented in the police report.
Okay, very well. So they have stipulated to the facts in the report, which acknowledges that a minor was served in the context of the police department's compliance check. And therefore, that can be a finding of the board, and unless anybody has anything else they want to add, you can sort of move on to the next phase.
And obviously, we've gone through the other stuff in advance, but any other testimony or anyone want to speak on behalf of this violation? Okay, seeing none, the chair entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Mr. Bramwell? Yes. And I too vote yes. Okay, we've gone over our policy a couple of times here, and I don't think we have to repeat ourselves. I know you were in the room when we discussed it, so again, I want to stress the fact that we are all business people. We understand that these things can happen, but, you know, a number of years ago, when I first came on the board, I know that it was like once a month we were dealing with stuff like this. And once we established this policy, it kind of quieted down quite a bit. So we're not used to doing these as much as we're used to, but does anyone have any comments to questions?
No, I just want to reiterate the fact that personally, I would feel better if the employee who's identified and make sure that that person is retrained on the tips?
The employee identified in the report is no longer an employee.
Okay. But I think it'd be, the Board of Selectmen would like to request that any employee that deals with the alcohol and has been tip certified, if we can get a copy of their certificate, just to put in the fold.
We have copies here.
All we
We
have
we
to-
do understand the severity of this, and so obviously we're, wanted to confirm that all our servers have been tips trained, and
So I
we hope to
feel
never
like-
have a repeat of this incident.
Yeah, I feel much better about that. It's just, like I previously stated, none of us want to come here tonight and do this, any more than the license holders. And I jokingly mentioned, I'm here only tonight because I go to the good things, I got to go to the bad ones too. And so, I want to stress the fact that please do not put us in the position of having to possibly impose a 10-day or more.
There's no one who would like that less than us, so
Exactly.
that's,
And I know that, so I just want to reiterate that. Thank you.
Mr. Salvo?
Mr. Chairman, I just think that, in a situation where you have, at a lot of times you have 100, 200 people in your facility, on the grounds, in the clubhouse, you might want to look into consideration and into the fact of taking it down the road in the future of wristbands. Once you get carded, at least these people have already been carded. You don't have to second guess yourself when they come up there for alcohol. It's just going to help you out. I know it's another burden, but at least you've done your job. And initially, you carded the people, the ones that are 21 that are questionable in your mind. So just to help you out in a big crowd. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I think that's a good idea.
Chief, you all set? To the end, right? Okay. Request a motion, I move that where the licensee, Norton Country Club, 188 Oak Street, Norton, Mass. 02766, license number 00010-RS.0908, as stipulated to the violation on September 26, 2017, serving an alcoholic beverage to a minor, that the board impose a suspension of the alcoholic beverage license of Norton Country Club, 188 Oak Street, Norton, Mass. 02766, number 00010-RS.0908, for a period of 2 days, with such suspension to be held in abeyance for a period of 2 years, to be served only in the event of a further violation within that time period. Motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Steele? Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Mr. Bramwell?
Yes.
I too will vote yes. Thank you for coming. Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Very much.
We'll send out a written decision to you.
Okay, Mr. Salvo?
Mr. Chairman, let it be 7:30. Alcohol beverage license hearing. President General Laws, Section 138, Chapter 138, apologize, Section 23. The hearing will concern the September 27, 2017 incident report filed by the Norton Police Department, which reports concern events at the following establishments that occurred during an alcohol beverage license compliance check on that date. Tournament Players Club of Boston at Great Woods LLC, 400 Arnold Palmer Boulevard, Norton, Mass. 02766. License number 00046-RS-0908.
Thank you. Attorney Riley?
Thank you. As with the other ones, do we have representatives from TPC here? You could come up and identify yourself at the microphone.
Good evening, Dan Wazlewski, General Manager at TPC.
Good evening, Sean Wilson, Food and Beverage Director at TPC.
Okay, thank you. So again, you've heard my speech, and you've heard kind of the board's mind to treat these violations tonight. So given that, would you acknowledge that you received the notice of the hearing, the incident report from the police department, and would you stipulate to the violation that's described in there?
I've read it a couple of times, and we do stipulate.
Okay, thank you. So for the record, Mr. Chairman, The license holder has stipulated to the facts in there, stipulated to the violation, which was a minor was served the beverage during the compliance check, and therefore, I believe you could close the hearing on that part.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Steele? Yes. Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Mr. Bramwell? And I too vote yes. Okay, general discussion. I pretty much said it all. I think you guys both heard it all. Anyone else want to add anything to it? Bramwell?
I'm just going to pipe in again, just about personally how I would like to see, make sure that we see the tip certificates for all the employees that are handling
Absolutely.
alcohol. And pleading again that you don't put us in the position to have to come here to deal with a second violation. It's not something that any of us look forward to.
Nor us, so we appreciate that.
You know, like I said, this is not one of the fun things that comes with this job. They don't pay us enough.
You get paid?
I've been getting your check.
Yeah, I knew, I knew it.
Must be getting mine too.
Okay. And Mr. Bramwell, we appreciate you being here tonight. You know, it's on short notice. I know you feel this is important, that you be here, and we're very pleased that you were able to make it, so
Thank you.
very important. Okay, I move that where the licensee, Tournament Players Club of Boston at Great Woods LLC, 400 Arnold Palmer Boulevard, Norton, Mass. 02766, license number 0046-RS-0908, as stipulated to the valuation of September 26, 2017, of the serving of an alcoholic beverage to a minor, the board imposes a suspension of the alcoholic beverages license of Tournament Player Club of Boston at Great Woods LLC, 400 Arnold Palmer Boulevard, Norton, Mass. 02766, license number 00046-RS-0908, for a period of 2 days, with such suspension to be held in abeyance for a period of 2 years, to be served only in the event of a further violation within that time period. Motion. Motion by
Second.
Mr. Bramwell, second by Mr. Flaherty. Is there any further discussion? Chief, you want to come back after? Okay. I keep checking. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Salvo?
Yes.
Mr. Bramwell? Yes. And I too vote yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you'll receive a written copy of the decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Clark?
Good evening. Just as an overview of how this comes about. So every year, with very little exception, we get an underage drinking prevention grant from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, where we do a variety of different things. We do party patrols, we do cops and shops, where plainclothes officers go into the liquor establishments. We do parking lot surveillance, and we also do the compliance checks. This isn't advertised. When we do compliance checks, it is advertised. We put it out on social media or in the newspapers. You know, one of the things that we want to come from the compliance checks when we send in somebody that's under the age of 21 into the establishment is just education. We don't want anybody to get hurt. You know, these three establishments, I know 2 out of the 3 on a personal basis, and I know they're very good to the town, and they're very community committed. But we don't want somebody to get hurt and make a mistake somewhere, and that's all that this is. I will tell you that there's a high probability we're going to do this again next year. So it's just the way it is. There's too many kids that get hurt or injured or killed because of underage drinking, and there's a variety of other things that go on that can endanger them too. This is just one facet. So I appreciate the board taking this matter up, and the establishments who have already made adjustments and addressed it. So that's very good.
Okay, and we appreciate it too, because we all have kids. We all have children of our own, and, you know, it's dangerous out there, and we want to make sure, and that's why our policy is written so strongly, is we want to make sure that everybody's safe. I know we lost a gentleman on John Scott Boulevard a few months ago. You know, that It's a shame that this stuff happens, but we have to be aware of it, and I actually appreciate the police department taking the time to run these operations. Having said that, I'm actually surprised that with all the notifications you're sending out that people are getting caught. So that kind of implies that maybe it's not top of mind. And I think that's probably one of the good reasons why you're doing it, is the fact that it brings us back into focus and says, you got to do your job. You know, you got to make sure it happens. So I think that's very important. Anyone else? Questions or anything? No. Mr. Bramlett?
I know it's something that has to be done, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate the fact that all three establishments that we had hearings with tonight realized and admitted that the mistake was made. And I'm familiar with all three establishments, and humans make mistakes. And no matter how good the servers are, every once in a while, somebody's going to mess up. Unfortunately, they messed up with a police officer this time, but I'm glad that the police are doing their job, but the fact that the police don't have to go into these establishments and other establishments in town because of chronic problems they're aware of shows that 99.9% of the time, these establishments are doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the effort that they do. I know I've been in some establishments. I'll say one for Roach Brothers, and I actually went up to the manager one time to thank them, because being the spring chicken that I am, there was a customer in front of me who I believe, although she may not have been, I believe she was a couple of years older than I was, and to see her actually be asked for her license made me showed me how serious that establishment is about the liquor violations. So I'm sure it made her day also. So I'm glad that this is an isolated instance, that the police department isn't aware of major problems with establishments in this town serving to minors, that they would have to go in, not to remind people, but to actually stop a problem.
I think it's important to stress that all three of these organizations do a lot for the town also.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that, we really do. But we have an obligation to people in here that we make sure we do things right too, so. The action we've taken tonight was the right thing to do, and hopefully we won't have to come back and deal with it, so hopefully that won't happen, so. Any other comments, questions? No? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Very much. Attorney Rowley, anything else?
I don't think so.
No? Well, I appreciate you coming down and helping us out. We've been through some, in the past, I remember years ago, going through some of these, and it'd last until midnight. Because we would be haggling back and forth, and total testimony, and
Nasty,
swearing people in. and
nasty.
It was nasty times, so. We do appreciate you coming down,
No, my pleasure.
and thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's see. Moving right along here, actually. I was expecting to be here until, expecting to get here and be here until midnight. Under old business? Nothing? Town manager's report?
I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That's it?
That's
That's
it.
all you've done all week?
That's it.
Okay. Nothing under appointment and resignations. Selectmen's report and mail, Mr. Brown, Mr. Salvo.
I don't have anything.
Bramwell?
I'm going to try to get through this.
Okay.
I just want to thank everybody for their support, their well wishes, and their condolences. And it's tough to even say it.
No,
So that's the end.
end.
That's all I got in me.
Very welcome.
I have to say Pauline was a sweetheart. I saw her at the Halloween parade, and she was in the back seat with and the grandchildren were definitely a part of it all. And whenever I used to see her, she used to say, "Oh, my favorite selectman." She always, every time I saw her, I was her favorite selectman. Well, after Brad got elected,
You told me that.
she said something one time, and I said, "I can't be a favorite selectman anymore. Brad has to be a favorite selectman." And she laughed, but she was a sweetheart. She was very, very much involved in the family, and I'm sure there's a big role there, you know. And obviously, we feel the same way for you too. So, but, as many condolences as we can give you. That's I want to stress the fact that we do appreciate you coming tonight to help out, because this was a very, very important matter. So,
I'm glad you came out.
Yeah.
You take the bad with the good.
yep.
And I've had a lot of good serving on this board, and this is one of the things that you don't look forward to.
Right.
So I had to come.
Right, appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. Mr. Flaherty, you got anything?
Just wanted to wish everyone happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Very good.
I was gonna ask.
Still has no
I was
voice,
actually
so
gonna
I'll
ask
skip
Bob
it.
how he made out with his tomahawk.
Okay. Under warrants and minutes. Have a report of the chairman. You have anything?
Nope.
No, okay, I've got it
thought
here
you were
too.
looking for them.
I know, I've got them, okay. We have a report of Chairman Robert W. Kimball Jr. on the following payroll and invoice warrants. Intend a motion to approve the biweekly payroll warrant number PR 13 for the period ended December 16, 2017, dated December 21st, 2017, in the amount of $1,322,072.53.
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. And ask that we approve the invoice warrant AP 25 dated December 21st, 2017, the amount of $212,997.79.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We have no minutes this week, so don't say it. Our next meeting's agenda, which is, by the way, January 4th, 2018, there will be a 7:15 hearing on the application of a Blockbuster Auto, 409 Old Colony Road, for a Class II license to buy, sell, and exchange and assemble secondhand motor vehicles. And I believe that's all we have at this point. If anyone else has anything they need to get on the agenda, please contact Mike, and we'll make sure we get it on there. No executive session. Anything else? Well, finally, I would like to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and a very happy and safe New Year. And we'll see you, I guess, next year. That's how it works. So,
Same here.
yep. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Mrs. Steele agrees with us too, by the way.
I wanna wish Mary hope she gets a new voice under her tree. Oh,
My husband's pretty happy.
Yeah, yeah. There may be others too,
Toward the
just so you
kids.
know. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we have a motion, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Merry Christmas.